Welcome to the Treehouse Athenaeum. Take a seat or walk and join us as we jump into the topics that you've often wondered about, from deciphering dreams to following your wild intuitive hits. We've got so many modalities and we can't wait to share them with you. Let's get started. Hi, how are you doing
Hello.
today, Dave?
I am very well, very accomplished. I got a lot done, so I'm a
Ooh,
very happy boy. Clean house, clean mind.
that matters. How was your trip to Egypt?
Amazing. It was travel though. I was telling you a little about it where it was probably one of the most difficult travel experiences I've ever had, but also like one of the most fulfilling with all the just we think old like Europe, but these
Mhm.
are ancient sites, like thousands and thousands of years. So of course, a lot of our spirituality that we still talk about today and like these modalities originated from a lot of these places. You know what I mean? Tarot's derived, it's been argued from the Egyptian style of divination and
Mhm.
astrology and stuff. And just fascinating to see all these temples that have been venerated for thousands of years. And it was just, oh, the art historian. I had a history boner the whole time. Like, oh, like it was just amazing. It was amazing.
And we could probably have a separate podcast about the amount of adventure that you've had in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about a different kind of adventure,
Which is,
which is talking about the isolation that you feel when you are busy moving up to the next level of your life.
oh, yeah, spiritual awakening. That's not so much adventure, it's
Listen,
trials,
reframing is important.
tribulation.
I remember when the eclipse in Aries was happening earlier this year, and
Yep.
everybody was like, "How's your eclipse season going?" I was like, "It's definitely flavored by Aries because I'm either like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, or oh my god, this is the most fun thing of my entire life." So like,
And either way, neither will last long, right? So,
right, but it feels like it in the
yeah.
moment. You feel like you are on that loop de loop, and it's the last thing you're ever gonna see. Ooh, ooh.
Funny. You might
Okay.
see Taven a few times here too. So he's wanting the extra love right now.
Yeah, well, you left him
Yeah,
for a
he let me
while.
know too.
Mm.
Avoided. Yeah.
Did you tell him that the Egyptians were like super into cats?
I brought back a little bath like statue, the cat statue. You better believe I love mythology. That's like my background with the art history. So oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I was connected.
You were
So
connected.
when you say level up, what does that look like?
I think that
Ooh,
mm, when people talk about leveling up, you think that it's going to be like this giant thing that just happens and you wake up like Tom Hanks and big, and all of a sudden you're in like a totally different phase in your life. But that's not it. It's actually more of what you were describing with the pyramids, where it just like is little things that chip away and chip away and chip away and chip away until one day you take a step back and you look at it and you're like, that is not the same shape I left it in.
yeah. It's like yeah, seeing your progress over time. Like that's when you really notice, you know what I mean? I call them micro shifts. These little like micro incremental moments and like turns or new direction points, that whether it's like, I'm drinking less or I'm meditating an extra 5 minutes every day, or I did 3 card pulls this week instead of one. So little things like that help realign you over a long term. I read this card once that I'll never forget. It was so transformative for me. And it said, the biggest way to shift your direction is by letting go of things. It's not actually taking on more or like, I need to learn more. It's actually letting go of these old things that don't serve us anymore. And just by that little micro shift over time, you'll be in a completely different direction, miles and miles difference just from that micro shift. Hmm.
Uh, it's so funny that you mentioned letting go of things because, like, you can take the server out of the restaurant. But you can't
Drama.
take the restaurant out of the server. So, like, everywhere I go, I feel like I need to carry like 8 things at once. And in this instance, I am talking like literally. Like, I'll have my water bottle and like my keys and a Jolly Rancher and, the key to enlightenment all in my hands, all at the same time.
And
And
you have to
I'll
get
be
in
like,
you got to get in the door. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm like trying to maneuver so I can like open the door with my keys or whatever. I'm like, how come I can't do this? And then it'll occur to me halfway through, Lisa, you can put some of this shit down, unlock
Literally.
the door, and then pick it right back up. And it's gonna be fine. And every time I think that, I think I need to apply this lesson to other things in my life. I really do.
Well, seriously, especially mental chatter. That's where I'm always maybe it's the ADHD, just how I process, whatever, but that's the biggest one for me, mental clutter, like letting go of stuff that isn't important in the moment. You know what I mean? If I'm not directly affected by it now, what's the first thing I need my full attention on? And that
Mm.
helps me like focus.
Can you say more about how you approach that redirect?
Ooh, well, it depends on the day because it depends on your energy and your mood and what you're feeling, like your emotions. For me, though, like especially like we were talking earlier about being creative and like what that looks like, creative work versus like regular physical work or
Mhm.
mundane work that doesn't take a lot of, I don't want to say brain power, but it's a different type of, energy, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think I was overwhelming myself with seeing the big picture, but then all the little things that had to happen to get there, even just the next, step. And if it's out of my wheelhouse, meaning like I was doing a lot of tech stuff in the past few weeks, and it was just overwhelming me. And I had to break it down to literally, okay, okay, okay. What's the first thing I need to do now to do the next thing? Just 2 steps. One step, accomplish that so I can get to the next. And it's really hard for me because I'm that big picture thinker. You love to say like Enneagram 7, but it
Ah!
really is. Like I see all the dreams already manifesting, but I'm like, oh shit, we got to do the work to get there. And that's the hard part where putting my focus, like honing my focus in, being intentional in the moment.
I could not be more proud of you.
Why?
Because like when you're talking, so I know that you're like, you can say Enneagram 7, and I was thinking, I gotta say it, I gotta say it. But the thing about sevens is when they are experiencing this time of growth, they'll take on some of the healthier behaviors of an Enneagram 5. And Enneagram 5s are very driven by wanting to be competent. So they will like or build themselves like this fortress of knowledge. And they're like, you can't hurt me. I know everything.
Yeah.
So that's not like while you're not picking up that motivation of wanting to know everything, you are leaning into the behavior of like really
No,
fortifying yourself with
I
that
would agree with
information.
that. I would agree with I want to know everything. I want to know the ins and outs. Like this is my business. This is something I'm passionate about. I want to understand it, step by step. I may not want to do it later, but I want to know how it's done. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That kind of thing. So,
But that's exactly it. You're reaching into that growth piece of it. And like, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it sucks, like, this is an excellent example of a growing pain that you're taking on in service of Dave, not 2.0. Let's say like 5.0
yeah, yeah. It's a new
within the
book.
last decade. There've been many versions of
Always.
my buddy Dave.
Reinvention's my hallmark.
Hmm.
How do you know when you're leveling up? What are some signs when you are leveling up?
Mm. So I think that one of them is shedding,
Okay.
honestly. Like, because to become the person that you are trying to be, you have to make room for that stuff to arrive.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
so for me personally, I know that I've been working on all this inner work for a few years now. Like I started it really seriously back in 2022. And this time last year, I was shedding people like no one's business. And I was just like, I don't like, I understand the discomfort is here. And I also see that like this season of life with this person is done. It's wrapped up. Like, no ill will, but also like, I can't, I can't, I can't have you around anymore,
Yeah.
essentially.
It just doesn't resonate, right? The vibration's off. Yeah.
Yeah. And it felt
That's
like
simple.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, like, there were two friendships that were pretty important to me that I had to leave behind. And that was like a different feeling of shedding. And I was like, what did I do to deserve this? And then I thought, well, I've been asking for this. I've been asking for a different life. And
Yeah.
so that has definitely bled over into this year. It's not like I'm just like cutting friends left and right just to cut them. Nothing like that. But it's
Yeah.
like I'm getting lonelier and lonelier. And I think that a lot of that is because, as you and I have talked about, I feel like I'm on the precipice of
Mhm.
jumping into a brand new life. And that's where all of my people are. They're on the other side. So I have to stay attuned to the task at hand that I know in my soul is right. Because, and I know this because I can feel my mind and my heart and my
Mm.
gut all aligning. It's like a little
Yeah.
golden thread that I feel. And
Yeah.
I know that's the right thing to do, so I'm doing it, and it's uncomfortable. It's like you
It's so uncomfortable, right? It's
yeah,
so, and it seems like it's forever. I mean, it is a while too, like especially when you go from having a community to not having one. We're social
mhm,
creatures. Like we thrive, and I would argue best sometimes, when we're surrounded by people that build us up. But if you don't have that community that is able to, yeah, like pour into you, it's a different it's a different existence. It's granted, I think this season for us is all about digging deeper and drawing from that deep well within ourselves. That's part of the leveling up process, knowing that um, your expansion. I would say I want to point that out to a major point of when we say level up, like
mhm,
really what we're talking about is an expansion in our awareness, right? Or
yep,
whether that's spiritual, mental, like you're taking on a new job, you're going into a new level in a relationship. There's just a lot of areas that can cover, but it's really opening up to more. And so that can be overwhelming too. I always love this. I always think of this. It's so simple, like the Buddhist, like I don't know, proverb or story or whatever. But he was talking about to his disciple, like you can't accept what's new if you're holding on to what from the past. So if your hand is clutching something, it's not open to receive. And it's really the same principle when we talk about shedding these people in our lives. We have to let go of things that don't resonate and vibrate where we're going. We won't be able to accept a new community, because we'll be holding on to the baggage. So, yeah, painful though. Painful to literally let go of people you've known for years, that you love, that you genuinely enjoy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, what's meant for you doesn't miss you. And I think that the proof of that is in our friendship, Dave.
Mhm.
Like, you and I never got into any sort of, like, fight or scuffle, nothing like that, but when I moved away from Florida, we fell out of touch for a little bit,
Well,
and
I
I
mean,
was
seasons, right? Yeah.
seasons,
Yeah.
exactly, but then you called me kind of out of the blue earlier this year, and you were like, "Hey, I have this idea, and I think that you're the right person to talk to about it." So we talked about it, and that set in my subconscious for a little bit, and then one day it poked its little head out, and now, like, I cannot handle it when you go away for 2 weeks.
It's not going to happen again, I swear. Or it
Don't
might.
swear
That's the
that.
point, right? Like that's the universe. Change is the only constant. But I know if one person leaves, then another's going to, come in the same way, like that's going to benefit you in that season. But
True.
I feel like with us, it's a soul connection. And I've always said this with your soul tribe, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how long you've been, like almost like when you meet like that karmic friend that you've had lives with, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, there you are. Like it's been a minute. Like, oh, hey, oh, hi. Yeah, I've been waiting for you. And it's the same thing. Like a good friend, you can always pick up right where you left off. It doesn't matter, but you'll pick up right there. conversation starts right where you left it. Hmm.
Yeah. I that just I had this friend, right, when I was living in Florida. It's Morgan.
Okay.
And Morgan and I were best friends. Actually, we worked with Daniela together. We just got really close really quickly. And I remember that feeling like there was just something between us that just clicked right away. And there was this meme of these two dogs that were sitting next to each other and they just had a cucumber across their head. And it was like when you can, or their two heads. And it was like when you can tell what the other, when you can tell what the other person is thinking, or like you're the same brand of weird or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, that's so us. And she was like, yes, it is. Morgan stands up and she goes, Lisa, you can't ever move to Colorado. I couldn't fucking handle it. So anyway, she and I had a pretty big falling out in 2018, and it broke my heart. Like I have never been more heartbroken than when she and I were apart. And
Mm.
so some years went by and we slowly started talking to each other. She reached out to me after my divorce, actually, and was like, hey, I really want to check on you. I know that I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. And we've been slowly rebuilding our friendship. And something that's really interesting to me is like, I will just get a hit in the middle of the day and be like, Morgan, what's going on? And she's like, shut up. I was just texting someone about this exact feeling. How did you know what was going on? Da 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 da. So like, I know I've known her in other lives, and she came back around. And
That's definitely so.
had we not had that falling out, I would not have moved out of Florida. I wouldn't have, because it would have been too
Interesting.
tough to leave her. So that's why that happened.
Well, that's why it needed to happen too. Yeah. Like your independence, it sounds like your sovereignty was, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That my sister's the only person I think in my life. Well, no, that's not true. A lot of people. I have a few friends that my friend Wendy, that probably one of my oldest friends, she knows, she gets dreams with me and stuff. We're just connected soul people,
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay. Love that. It's so good to have someone that your soul just recognizes instantly.
I can't imagine my life without, it's
Mhm.
just the world would be too dark, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay,
So
so isolation, that's
yeah.
one of them.
So
What's
what
one of your indicators?
um honestly, this has been this past since 21. This has been the biggest like leap. Like we're talking quantum leap is what it
Mhm.
feels like. Because I had so for me, one of the things that signifies it is actually the wrestling with the choice to do it, um, to leave, to isolate, whether willingly or not. Okay, so for me, I was in a heavy party lifestyle, and I mean, living like a rock star. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. Like I
Remember?
love a good time,
Mhm.
but I knew it's not what I needed. It wasn't where I was supposed to be, and it was time to let it go. So for me, it was just the feelings of having to actively choose what will be the demise, of your life. That for me is when things were getting real. Like, and that's what kept me up at night, when I was avoiding it or when I was not being honest with myself. So for me, it's those deep conversations that won't let you go. Like when that you should be doing something else or going in a different direction, but yet you're stubborn because you're more comfortable. I just saw it today, a quote that said, you will always choose familiar chaos over the next, good or healthy unfamiliar thing, just because, better the devil, kind of attitude. It's just biological, our nature. But if I can mitigate it and I know what's coming, that's easier than like the fear of like stepping into your power, or the fear of like the unknown, or like there's so many. Even though I know it's going to be good for me, I'm going to lose everything else. It will be better what's coming. What I'm going to gain is going to be amazing and three times better than I can even imagine. But I don't want to leave everything I know. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to. It's hard. It's hard to say
Yeah.
goodbye. I think there's a lot of people that struggle with it more than others, that fear of separation, that fear of isolating. Like, again, it's not, you're not going into it to isolate, but it's part of the process, you know? Oh, that's, you know what? I just remember,
Mhm.
have you seen this? I don't know if it's mirrored. Is it mirrored? The Mountain Is You, Brianna Wiest?
Spotify keeps telling me I'd like that. I'm like, where are you getting this from?
Girl, like, I'm talking nuggets of wisdom. But anyway, I just remember she's got a chapter. Oh, my cat hair all over. I love my baby. um
Even reminders that he loves you.
Preparing for radical change is the section on this, and it's just the section. It says one of the biggest reasons people avoid doing important internal work is that they recognize if they heal themselves, their lives will change, sometimes drastically. If they come to terms with how unhappy they are, it means that they will have to temporarily be more uncomfortable, ashamed, or scared while they start all over. And then she has this like little list, and she says your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone and your sense of direction.
Hmm.
Girl, the direction, not knowing where to go, what to do, that was the hardest for me because I'm a control, like family of origin stuff. Like, I need to know what's going on, you know, so I feel not, I don't feel anxiety, you know. It's going to cost you your relationships and friends. It's going to cost you being liked and understood.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. It's the last one too. The people who are, and like you said, the people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side. You're going to build a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward. Instead of being liked, you're going to be loved. Oh, instead of being understood, you're going to be seen.
Yes.
And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. I think we it's really, like you said earlier, reframing your perspective, right?
Hmm.
I know I'm going to lose everything, but I have no idea how amazing what I'm gaining is going to be, you know? And if you can tap into that energy, the excitement, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to be a new human. Do you want to show that picture of us? That I
Oh,
So
yeah.
set this up while I look for it.
Okay. So Dave reached out to me a few weeks ago and he said, "Look at this picture." And my immediate response was, "I don't even know her." And when we both worked at the same restaurant together, at Animal Kingdom Lodge, one of the perks of working at Disney is that something you get the park brought to you backstage pretty frequently. And this day, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the Incredibles were there for a photo shoot. So before
What place on earth is like this? Like,
so Dave like saw me walking into the kitchen and he was like, "Turn around, babe. We're gonna go take a picture." And I was like, "Ugh." So we go take a picture, dressed like pumpkins, like straight up gourds. With was it Mr. Incredible? Frozone?
yep. Okay, I found it. I found
Okay, yay. So let's show him.
it.
Dave, tell us what we're looking at here.
I don't know these people. I really don't.
I don't
Like,
either.
it seems like a different lifetime, a different timeline, you know? Like,
It
you want to
was.
talk Marvel universe? Like, this is another universe. Like,
It blows my mind. Like uh, it's very odd to see both of us next to it. Like, A, what a glow up, if I may say so. And
wow. Yeah.
B, like, I don't know. I, I don't recognize her. Like, this woman that I'm staring at back then is radically different than I am right now. And I remember like the catastrophic force that it took for me to leave Disney because it's what I knew.
Yeah.
It literally took
And
a pandemic for me to leave.
it's a decent gig too. That's the other
Mhm.
thing for me. Leaving my last restaurant, I knew I could not flourish the way I needed to working with my ex. Like, emotionally, mentally, it would have been detrimental to me, and I would have not been able to do the healing that I needed. So I took a massive pay cut willingly, and that was hard. Just putting my trust in spirit. Like, I know it's going to be probably difficult for a minute, but it's all going to be for a reason, you know? And you've obviously had that same feeling, right? Did you know what you were leaving to, or you just had to, it was time?
It was time. I mean, there was a lot that went on that, like, long story short, I endured more than I should have because I thought, well, I'm strong, I can handle this. And just because I can handle it doesn't mean I'm supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is the face of a woman who was handling things for the sake of impressing others and making
Interesting.
others feel comfortable, and looking at it from like an Enneagram perspective. I'm a 3, so my this was like some really unhealthy 3 behavior for me. Like, I was doing things for the sake of other people, like
Keeping
I
up,
just said.
like keeping up appearances kind of thing when you say for other people.
Yeah, keeping up appearances, like, this me being in this picture at all was for you because I have like the heebie-jeebies when I meet characters in costume, because I always walk by them and I'm like, you probably passed by me earlier and thought that my hair looked weird. So like it took a lot of inner strength and fortitude to even take this picture in the first place. But like I was just not living my life for me. I was living it in little pieces that didn't make sense. And I was kind of cobbling them together based on the reactions of other people around me. And I was just miserable. Like
Yeah.
I was shape shifting all the time. And I just look at her and I think, I know this lady's feet are hurting right here. I know that she's in the process of destroying her body. And that smile is like so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy to be where I'm at right now.
I think that's really
Genuinely.
telling too. When you talk about these leveling up and these new seasons and this growth, it's not just a mental expansion or spiritual expansion. It literally impacts you on a cellular level, like
Mhm.
molecular level. Like your body shifts. You just, I mean, I don't even look like that person. And I always think of that book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Mhm.
Literally, like when you were processing your trauma and when you were healing or when you're not, it manifests in your body. And for me, a lot of the time it was weight because
Mhm.
I found comfort there, but also I think my body was trying to I don't know, it just,
Insulate you?
yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Insulate. um a barrier, you know what I mean? It was a
Mhm.
protective thing, even though I didn't think that rationally, it's a subconscious. Um, just again, even like my lifestyle, you could see it in like my skin tone and just, I don't
Mhm.
know, the energy, like you can see the energy around people. Hmm.
Yeah, and what's absolutely wild to me about you specifically in this picture is like I've always thought of you as one of the most confident people that I know.
Hmm.
And I think that was your reputation at the restaurant that we were working at for sure. Like even our proprietor was like, "Ooh, I want to be good with Dave," you know.
Yeah.
Um, but the posture that you have here
Yes.
is not of someone who feels confident within themselves. And the way
Yeah.
that you walk around now is with your head held high. Like you own who you are. And I thought that this guy was owning who he was, but this guy's got nothing on the one that I'm talking to right this
Yeah.
moment.
Isn't it? And it really is. It just speaks to the levels. Right when you think you've hit something, there's
Hmm.
always more. There's
Yeah.
always more. And that's what life is. It should be life word, right? We're always growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying in essence. It's like stagnation is death. Oh.
Yeah. All right. I can't look at them anymore. I'm so salty. I love you. Thanks for getting us here. Bye.
I do miss the saffron.
Do you?
Yeah, I love saffron. I love that color. Gay. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm happy for you.
Uh-huh. I love color. How are you handling this time of isolation?
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah. What does that mean though? What does that look like?
So It's a lot of self-regulation, a lot of it. So one of the hacks that I have picked up that I find to be incredibly helpful is you take a deep inhale for a count of 4, and then you blow out the exhale like you're breathing through a straw for 8. And that sounds like a really long count, but what you're doing is you're regulating your nervous system and you're saying, hey, actually, like a lion is not chasing us. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like this is something that is supposed to happen. This is a part of your new normal. So doing that to regulate my nervous system, um, reminding myself that when I'm describing the events in my life, either to myself or to others, that it is happening for me, not to me, because that is the truth. That is how I can successfully look back on things like that falling out that I had with Morgan
Yeah.
and have like the proof that it's coming back. Um, and in human design, my strategy is, or not my strategy, the way that I make decisions is through external processing. So I externally process a lot.
Me too. Me too.
Which I mean, you have been on the receiving end of before.
Hmm.
There was one time when I was having this epiphany and I was like, I gotta put this somewhere. So I turned on my Marco Polo and I just started recording while I told Jenny everything that I was thinking of. I was just like pacing back and forth. And she was like, I don't know what that meant, but I'm happy for you. Congratulations on getting your steps in.
Sometimes it just has to be released. That's why journaling. I always swear by journaling.
Mhm.
You want to expand your awareness. Journal. That is one of the first steps, I think, or tools that you can use to grow spiritually, to be more in tune, to find that intuitive voice in you. Like literally, you process as you let it go. And I think there's something about the act. I mean, you can type, but there's just,
Mhm.
again, I think there's something energetic in the release. And then on top of that, you can go back and look at it. You know what I mean? Which gives you
Yeah.
another layer of that processing, which I think is invaluable. But
What do you say to people that are like, I don't like journaling?
you need to do it. Same thing. They're probably the people that are like, I want to meditate. Well, yeah, no, we don't like it. But it's funny because when I started therapy at the beginning of my my divorce in the processing, I went a few months before, and I knew what it was, but journaling allowed me that voice. It makes it, there's a finality in it. And actually, when you're doing your spirit rituals, I've heard over and over again, like in all my learning over the years, when you write it out, it has a different energetic release for spirit. Spirit acknowledges it different rather than just say like a prayer form. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When you put it down on paper, there's an intention behind it, and there's more potency to it. And that's why witches use it in spells, or people who do magic or manifestation. You've seen those journals where you write it 7 times a day. But there's something to it, of the act of releasing it. And I think it's just, again, that intention is stronger, and you're more likely to follow through with it, and if you
It
write it
is.
down.
And it's important to note too that journaling is not like, dear diary,
Yeah, no,
today
no.
I saw a boy in class and he was very cute. And
Yeah.
we accidentally knocked knees under the table and now
I
we're in
mean,
love.
some of my journaling is like that, but
Well, I did too, but I'm more refined with my words now.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it is. It's an art too. I love it. But no, it's accessing your feelings. And that's the
Mhm.
other reason why I say you need to be doing it, is because for me, I'm very cerebral. This allows me, it's a tool that allows me to access my emotions,
Mhm.
because as I rev up, the first paragraph or two are usually just the situation that happened, and then before I know it, it's like a stream of consciousness. Then I'm like, I was feeling like this, and I can't believe, where did this come up, where did this come from? And before you know it, 2 pages in, you're like, oh shit, you're talking about stuff with a parent, a situation with a parent that happened when you were 5, and you're like, I felt like this too. And you're It's amazing. It's amazing. I really recommend it.
It is amazing, and it's great for looking back and detecting patterns as well.
Patterns. Oh, that's a huge benefit. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I
Mm.
have filled more journals in the past 2 years than I think in my entire
Yep.
life.
Me
And
too.
sometimes I think, how am I going to destroy these before?
Destroy them? Well, I mean, what secrets do you got?
Well, no, but it's like, those pages that are like, and I think this boy is super cute. I'm like, I don't
But
want someone finding this millennia from now and
oh,
being like, really? Get a life.
see, this is a compassion piece. This is wonderful. Giving yourself grace because that's who you were, and that's a part of you. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's, I mean, I put a lot of sexual stuff in mine, but it
Mhm.
shows me where I was at that time. You know what I mean? Like these drives, these urges. Um, I was just thinking about today. This is really profound to me. When I started at the beginning of this process, this shift, I would go out and like go to the bar and come home and I would journal because all my feelings were on the surface. And there's certain entries in there. Like it was intense. You know what I mean? There was the
Mhm.
just seeing my mental state, you can see it reflected. And I think that's profound because now I look back and there hasn't been an entry like that in over, almost 2 years. So seeing that progress literally like cataloged, is it's just I'm very proud of myself and the work I've done and where
Yeah.
I've gotten to. Yeah.
It's cathartic. It is
Yeah.
cathartic. And you know what? Like, I hear what you're saying about giving yourself grace.
Well, that's who I was and that's shameful, but now I've embraced it, right? Like given space for it. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the sexual part too, because that is something that I still have a very hard time journaling about in case someone finds it, right? But like,
Like
why
fairy
why
smut
should I
porn.
hold back on something like that
Uh,
if like it's like a small chance that that will happen and it's a big chance that it'll make a difference for me to get it down on a piece of paper, you know?
I've thought that too. Like, what if I die and my sister goes through my journals? But that's the truth. That's who I am. We're sexual beings. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Mhm.
welcome. You're welcome. You're
Show
welcome.
this yeah, turn this into a book, actually.
I'm
Get
just
a
setting
good
her up.
narrator on audiobook. Okay.
I would be mortified, but I'll be dead, so it's okay.
Well, yeah. You'll be, like, reincarnated into a different body and feel, like, this sudden pang of
Don't
embarrassment. You're like, "What was that about?"
don't you wonder sometimes, like when spirit, like this is so funny too. Like I have a high drive, and it's just funny because I'm like, how can I be spiritual? But sex can be spiritual in the right elements, right? But I always think of like my guides, like Dave, are you come? But I do think there's an element like it's one of the a whole chakra's devoted to it, chakra. So
Which chakra?
the orange sacral chakra. I can't even talk today. Um,
Sacral chakra is about being sexual?
yeah, well, it's sexual energy is the one of the biggest parts of it because that's the creative life force, right? Especially for women, like it is creation. But if you want to get like, okay, so when people are reading auras, people who
Mhm.
have a lot of orange in their aura, that's creative energy. They're very artistic. They're very expressive. They're uh yeah, that's what it's again, it's just another form. I think that's why Hinduism has so much of that sexuality, the tantra and everything, the kundalini. It's all in that lower base roots. Like the first three chakras are all about the body and like uh what am I trying to say here? The physical aspects, right? Our connection to the earth, and that is a big part of it. Regeneration, life, new life.
Today I learned. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So go have sex.
Oh, okay, well, let me get right on that.
Just get comfortable with it. You'll be fine. I've always been curious to take one of those courses like no, I don't know, tantra. I mean, I think it'd be fascinating. It's probably never the people you want to watch, but I think there's something to it though, especially if you have a committed partner that you really feel seen with, that understands you. That's power. There's nothing like it, right? There's nothing like it in the world. Hmm.
I agree. I
Hmm.
agree. So good it could shift you onto a different timeline and you'll feel isolated to just you and your partner when it happens.
Done.
Full circle. All right. I think that's it for us today. Dave, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Yes, there is actually.
Cool.
I want to encourage you to trust the process. Um, if you're debating, if you're teetering, if you know that you're avoiding some work that you should be doing, or maybe that's wounds with your parents, or going to therapy, or like a conversation you need to have with your partner, to tell them where you really are, how you're really feeling, um, it will be worth it. Like, trust the process. And if you're in it, if you've done that, if you're past that stage and you are at a point now where you're just trying to get through this. One of the cards I pulled at the beginning of this year was Between Two Worlds. It's a beautiful card. I don't know if anyone's used this, the Shaman Dream Oracle. And again, I always swear by Colette Baron Reed, but this Alberto Villado, anyway, he works with a lot of shamanistic practices, and that's his roots, but just fascinating. A lot of dream interpretations and astral travel, which helps you unlock a lot of your those inner worlds, right? The hidden
Mhm.
stuff. But at the beginning of the year, I had this card come up in a reading with a friend of mine, and this straddling two worlds. And I think there is such a message for people in this vein, this energy. Give yourself grace. If you're doing the process, if you're doing the work, there's just a point where you have to just release and let go. Like that Hanged Man card that's my archetype card right now. But you are not who you were, and you're not yet who you're evolving into. You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
kind of a metaphor for all life, constant. We're always changing. We're always in transition. But there are seasons where, again, like, I just look back at, like, who I was going to the bars all the time, and like that's where I found my validation. And now I know I don't have the community that I want, but they're coming. And you just got to trust the process. You're in between two worlds, and you got to be comfortable in that transmutive process.
Yes.
So I want to encourage you.
Yes, and I want to encourage you to use the community that y'all have built here
Yeah.
because there are going to be times when you think I am taking crazy pills and I just feel so alone, right? We talked about that isolation, but it is so helpful to
Did it?
lean on other people that get it and that are experiencing it, like not just talking about it, experiencing it so you can compare notes and kind of enjoy the wonder of it, honestly.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the community. That's one of the biggest reasons we're doing this. Like,
Mhm.
spiritual growth and like intuitive expansion, it's very difficult. And having people that are going through it with you at the same time is just, there's nothing like it. Just the joy and the understanding. And like, again, we keep saying being seen. It's
Mhm.
just, it changes the whole experience to just know that you're not alone in it. There are times where you will be alone. I think, we have
Yep.
to, that's necessary, but it's not often. Hmm.
No, it really isn't often. Even if you feel like we were talking about earlier with losing pieces of your social circle and others that are familiar to your day-to-day landscape, you're going to have people come back in that will say the right thing and you'll know because you'll be like, it's so funny that you said that. I was just thinking about this thing.
Like, when your soul is being fed,
Mhm.
that's the community we should want, or that we need. Oh,
Mhm.
oh, yeah,
Yep.
it's
Something.
happening.
It
Hmm.
is happening. All right. We love you. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us in the treehouse today. If you enjoyed your time here, can you do us one little favor and send this episode over to someone else who might need to hear it. We love ratings, reviews, and recommendations. We appreciate you so much. Have a gorgeous day.